What's up everybody, and welcome back to Legit Whiskey Reviews. And today I'm gonna be going over my top 3 whiskeys for 2023. So yes, it's that time. So this is the final video for 2023. I can't believe 2023 is almost over already. And yeah, I'm super excited. I do this list every year. Typically it's been a top 5 list, but this year I feel like I didn't get to try as many whiskeys as I usually do. This year was a little bit, I kind of like didn't try as many as I typically do, so I didn't want to make a top 5 when I didn't try that many, you know. I did try quite a few, but there's also some that I tried this year that I didn't have a chance to review this year, so I couldn't include them. I didn't want to include anything that I didn't actually review on the channel. So I have a lot of good ones which I'm going to be reviewing next year, and they'll go into the list next year, like really good ones that I tried that really impressed me. But I just didn't review them on my channel, so that was another thing. And also for you guys watching for the first time, so typically the way I do my top, my top whiskeys for the year, these are whiskeys that were new to me, that I tried for the first time this year. For me, they may not have came out this year, but they were new to me. But I think for the most part, I think all 3, I'm pretty sure, on my list this year all came out this year. So and also, I mean, I have a small channel. This is a small channel. I don't get like super limited release bottles or anything like that. It's not anything crazy. Some of them are hard to find, but it's not anything like, it's not like I didn't get to try everything this year. So that's another thing. These are whiskeys that were new to me, and these are the ones that I tried this year, and these are the ones that I actually reviewed on the channel this year. So that's the thing from my list. So I'm super excited to get into this. I just finished the advent calendar. I hope you guys watch. If you didn't, whenever you get a chance, check out the advent calendar I released this year, because it was really fun. It was really fun, and there was some surprises in there, and it was just fun to do. So yeah, that was really fun. So all right, let's get into it. So before I do my top 3 whiskeys for this year, I think for the most part, there's a bourbon and like 2 ryes. Ryes were big for me this year as far as my top 3, but I have 2 honorable mentions this year. They were just ones that fell a little short from my top 3. I could have done a top 5, but I just felt like top 3 is good enough, and I'll just do an honorable mention. So I have 2 honorable mentions, and like I said, they are all really good. They just fell a little bit short comparing them to the other ones. So my first honorable mention this year for 2023 is Larceny Barrel Proof. This is the B523. So I've tried quite a few Larceny Barrel Proof since they started coming out. I think about 2 years ago when they first started coming out with the Larceny Barrel Proofs. And yeah, so this one I thought was really good this year. This one comes in at 124.4 proof, so that's 62.2% ABV. Of course, this is a bourbon, wheated bourbon, and yeah, this one was just solid for me. It was really good. I feel like the B523 or B522, last year's batch, the B batch from last year, was a little bit better for me, in my opinion. I think that won last year for me, my number 1 bourbon for last year. But either way, this one was solid. It was really good. And yeah, it just fell a little bit short comparing them to the other ones on my list, but definitely a good one. If you see them on the shelf still, pick them up, because yeah, this is a good one. By the way, the ones that I have on my list too, these are all found on the shelves. Like I don't believe in secondary, so there wasn't anything secondary, and yeah, I just walked into a store and found them on the shelf. I didn't buy them like anywhere else, so that's another thing. All right, so that's my first honorable mention. My last honorable mention, the second one for this year, is Barrel Vantage. Yeah, so this was one that I reviewed in collaboration this year with my homie Israel from Whiskey One. Go check out his channel, give him a sub, give him a like. Great channel. So we reviewed this one together, and this one here is a blend of straight bourbon whiskeys finished in Mizunara, French, and toasted American oak. So that it was a really interesting blend. Barrel always does a lot of great blends. As you can see behind me up here, I have a lot. I'm a big fan of Barrel. They do a lot of great things. To me, in my opinion, they're one of the best blenders as far as bourbons, in my opinion, bourbons and ryes. They do a really good job, and this one was no different this year. This one comes in at 115.88 proof, so that's 57.94% ABV. And this one is a blend of Indiana, Tennessee, and Kentucky whiskeys, bourbons. So yeah, this one was really good, spicy, sweet, just everything you look for in a bourbon. As far as me, everything I look for, like sweet, spicy, a little bit of fruit, great finish, lingering finish. It's just everything I look for in a great bourbon that I can sip on and enjoy. This one had everything. But again, it just fell a little bit short if I'm comparing them to my top three. The top three are just a little bit on another level. But yeah, so these are my two honorable mentions for this year. They were great. Yeah, and you can't go wrong with either of these. They were really good this year. So yeah, so those are my two honorable mentions. All right, so now for the good part. My top three for 2023. So this was really tough going back and forth, but I think I finally settled on this top three here. I feel like I got them in the right order. The more I kept going to one of them, the more it kept moving up, and it kind of like took me by surprise. So that's one thing that I believe that one's my number two. But my number three whiskey for 2023 is Elijah Craig Barrel Proof. This is the A123. So this is the first batch from 2023. Typically they release 3 batches, the A, the B, and the C. And like I said, this is the A batch. This one came in at 125.6 proof. So 62.8% ABV. And of course, this is a bourbon. And this one is 12 years old. So I believe the second batch of this year for the Elijah Craig Barrel Proof, they released one under 12 years old for the first time in a long time, and that kind of like pissed a lot of people off. It didn't really piss me off. I mean, I figured they were gonna eventually have to do that, but I figured that they would release an older one too, which they did for the C batch. But yeah, this one was really good. It was the classic Elijah Craig Barrel Proof. Like it was just like deep, rich brown sugars. It was like a little bit of fruit, but it was like caramel, brown sugar, very spicy, lingering finish. It just went on forever. I feel like this one was classic ECBP in my opinion. It just had everything I look for. It wasn't like an over the top like great batch. Like I feel like the C920 is one of my favorite batches. Besides the pirate bottles, the C920 was a really good one that stands out in my mind as one that I really enjoyed. But as far as this one for this year, I didn't get to try. I still see the B batch on the shelves, but I just never felt like picking it up. It's still sitting on the shelves, and I don't know, it just doesn't, like, I didn't feel like picking that one up for some reason. Maybe because it's under 12 years old. I've heard a lot of mixed opinions. It's good, it's not that great. I mean, in my opinion, any ECBP that you can find at retail is a steal. 12 years old, barrel proof, you can't go wrong. Even the batches that aren't the greatest will still beat most bourbons, and I've said that plenty of times before. So you can't go wrong with ECBP, especially if you find it at retail. Retail for this is typically between $70 to $75. It could be a little less, a little more in some areas, but Yeah, I usually see them on the shelf. I haven't seen the C batch this year so far, and that's one that I've actually really been seeking out, and I haven't seen it. The C923. That one's, I believe that one's a 13-year-old. So either way, this one was really great. I really enjoyed it. And the more, this one is actually started off in second place, and the more I kept going with between my second place and this one, like the second place just kept creeping up, which really surprised me, because the first time I tasted my second place whiskey, which is a rye, I thought it was really good, but I didn't think it was exceptional until I kept going back to it. I feel like after I reviewed it on the channel, and the more I kept going back to it, and then recently I went back to it again, and it really opened up. It really did a job and just opened up, and it was really great. But before I go to my number 2 whiskey for 2023, I want to try, this is my number 1 in the glass here. I want to go back to it and just try it. Ah, this is delicious. This is a rye too, my number 1 for the year. And this is cherry, this is molasses, this is a hint of banana, a ton of baking spices, cinnamon, and a lot of pepper and spice with some oak as well, sweet oak. This is amazing. Let me try it on the palate. Cheers. Yeah, this one stood out. Same on everything I mentioned transferred to the palate, and this one stood out from the pack. Like, this was number 1 from the beginning. It just stood out from the pack, and the other ones I feel like didn't compare to my number 1. But I'm gonna go to my number 2 now. So number 2 for 2023 is Hard Truth Sweet Mash Rye. So Hard Truth Sweet Mash Rye, this is a straight rye whiskey. This is a barrel strength, uncut and unfiltered. So this one comes out of Indiana, and no, it's not MGP or Ross and Squibb, whatever you want to call it. So this was a whiskey here that really surprised me. It just came out of left field and really took over. And like I said, this started out not even in my top 3. And the more I kept going back to it, it just kept going, and it just crept up to number 2. This one really took me by surprise. Like I said, I reviewed it on my channel and I thought it was really good, but I didn't think that going back to it, that it was gonna change that much. Like, if this is a bottle that, if you get this bottle, I feel like give it time, because it's really gonna change. A lot of bottles do, but I feel like this one really changed for the better, the more air that it got in it. But what I love about this Hard Truth, besides the flavors, is that they include a lot of information on here on the bottle itself. Like I said, this is uncut, unfiltered. They have the Rack House 001. This is batch 006. So they have the batch. They even have the batch size, which is not very, a very big batch size when you're comparing to some other big brands. So this is the batch size for this one is just 30 barrels. And it has the date that it was dumped on. This one was 10/12/2022. This is 117.6 proof, and it's 58.8% ABV. This comes out of Brown County, Indiana, and this is mashed, distilled, and aged in American oak barrels. So yeah, this is really good. This is like, this turned like fruity. The more I let it open up, turned fruity with a lot of candy sweetness, but a lot of like cherry, like deep cherry, a lot of candy sweetness, very spicy. And I don't even think this is, I could have sworn they had the age on here, and I'm not seeing it right now, but let me see if I find it in the back. Oh, so okay, so this is another thing that really surprised me. So as far as ryes, You don't have to age them as long as bourbons, and you can get away with it. But this is really young. This one is, all it says is aged over 2 years old. So I mean, this is pretty young for tasting so good. I mean, this came in number 2, my number 2 whiskey for 2023. So that's saying something, you know. It just really stood out for me. And like I said, the more I went back to it, the more it just kept rising. The more it just really took me by surprise. And this is one that I really recommend. I see them, I'm starting to see them on the shelves all the time now. So if it's not in your area yet, just wait a little bit, because I feel like their distribution is gonna really open up. But yeah, this was really a surprising whiskey for 2023, and really enjoyed it. So, all right, so my number 1 whiskey for 2023. You guys ready? I have it in the glass here. It might not be a surprise to some of you guys that have been watching for a while, but yeah. So number 1 for 2023 is Jack Daniel's Single Barrel Barrel Proof Rye. Yeah, so I'm super excited I got to try this year. This is such a good one, and I'm really happy that this one is just gonna be a regular release, just like the Tennessee whiskey, the single barrel proof. This one, the rye, is also gonna be just regularly on the shelves. Now I know this is trickling out there little by little. Some states may not have them yet, but as far as me, I am seeing these on the shelves regularly. And like I said, this is a single barrel, so I know barrels differ, bottles will differ from barrel to barrel. So that's the one thing to keep in mind. Maybe some bottles might not be as good as others, but my bottle, I feel like I definitely got a good one. This one here is 133.2 proof. So but that's the thing though. Every time I go to it, you can't taste that. Like, it does not taste like it's 133 proof. In my opinion, it tastes like maybe 120. So 66.60% ABV. But yeah, this one from the beginning, it just really stood out, and no other bottle this year, in my opinion, like even came close to it as far as the stuff I tried. It was just really, you know, out of this world, as far as like everything I got, from the nose to the palate, and it just took me on an adventure. And I haven't even put water in it, so that's another thing I want to try eventually, just like adding a few drops of water just to see how much it changes. But yeah, if you guys haven't seen it in your area yet, just wait. I'm sure they have a large distribution throughout the country, and you'll definitely start seeing them on the shelves. But this is one to keep an eye out for, and definitely pick up if you see it. So there you guys have it. There's my top 3 for 2023. I wanted to thank each and every one of you that have stuck it out with the channel, that have been watching, that actually watched the whole advent calendar. I really appreciate that. You know who you are, all you guys that, and you know, that watched all the episodes of the advent calendar, and just that have been supporting the channel since I started the channel. I really appreciate it. I hope you guys have a great new year, and just like, yeah, let's all have a great new year. So hope you guys enjoyed my list for 2023. If you did, hit the like button, subscribe, and keep it legit, and do it for the love of New Year's, the love of whiskey. Cheers.